In a softly lit cafe on a quiet Tuesday morning, Sarah Mitchell sat alone at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a cooling cup of tea. At 28, she had grown accustomed to the world's silence. Born deaf, she navigated life through gestures, expressions, and the kindness of strangers willing to understand. That particular morning, something felt different, wrong. A man had been watching her, following her. Actually, she'd first noticed him at the grocery store the day before, then again at the park where she liked to read. Now here he was, just 2 tables away, his eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her heart race. Sarah's fingers trembled slightly as she pulled out her phone, wondering if she should call someone. But who? Her best friend was 3 states away. Her parents, now in their 70s, would only worry themselves sick. She felt so terribly alone. Then she saw Emma, a young man entering the cafe, probably in his mid-30s, holding the hand of a small girl with golden curls. The child, perhaps 4 years old, wore a white dress and clutched her father's hand tightly. There was something about the man's face, a gentleness, a weariness that spoke of sleepless nights and patient love that made Sarah feel a sudden, desperate hope. She caught his eye. Her hands moved quickly, urgently, forming the signs, "Please help me." The man stopped mid-stride. His daughter looked up at him, confused. But he understood, perhaps not the words exactly, but the fear in Sarah's eyes, the way her shoulders had drawn up protectively. He understood. His name was David Cooper, a widower for 2 years now, raising little Emma on his own. His late wife, Margaret, had been a speech therapist who worked with deaf children. In their 7 years of marriage, she'd taught him sign language, taught him that communication was so much more than words spoken aloud. David knelt down to Emma's level, whispered something in her ear. The little girl nodded solemnly, as if receiving an important mission. Then David walked directly to Sarah's table and sat down across from her, while Emma climbed into the chair beside him. His hands moved with surprising fluency. "I see you. You're safe now. Tell me what's wrong." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. When was the last time someone had signed to her so naturally, so easily? She explained quickly of the man who'd been following her, the fear that had been building, the isolation she felt in moments like these. David nodded slowly. He glanced toward the man Sarah had indicated, then back to her. His hands moved again. "I'm going to talk to him. Emma will stay with you. She's shy, but she's brave, just like you." What happened next would stay with Sarah for the rest of her life. David walked over to the man calmly, without aggression. He spoke quietly, though Sarah couldn't hear the words. She watched the man's face change, confusion, then embarrassment, then something like shame. He pulled out his wallet, showed David something. David's posture softened. He nodded, placed a hand on the man's shoulder, then gestured for him to approach Sarah's table. The man came forward slowly, respectfully. He held out his wallet, showing her a photograph. It was a picture of a young woman, a woman who looked remarkably like Sarah. Similar reddish blonde hair, similar features. Across the bottom of the photo was a date. This woman had died 3 years ago. Through David's interpretation, the man explained, his daughter, killed by a drunk driver at 25. He'd seen Sarah at the grocery store and for a moment, his heart had stopped. The resemblance was so striking. He'd followed her, not meaning to frighten her, but unable to help himself, drawn to this living reminder of what he'd lost. He was crying now, this broken father. "I'm so sorry." David's hands translated, "I never meant to scare you. I just wanted to be near someone who reminded me of her. I know that's not right. I know. I'm so sorry." Sarah sat very still, absorbing this. The fear drained away, replaced by something deeper, a profound sadness for this man's grief, and a recognition of their shared loneliness. She reached across the table and took his hand. No signs needed, just that simple human gesture. They sat there for a long moment, 3 adults and 1 wise little girl, connected by chance and sorrow and unexpected grace. Later, After the grieving father had left with promises to seek counseling, Sarah and David sat together while Emma colored on napkins the waitress had kindly provided. David explained that he'd recognized Sarah's signs immediately because of Margaret. How strange that his wife's passion had prepared him for this exact moment. She always said, David signed slowly, making sure Sarah could follow, that we're all just looking for someone to understand us, someone to see us. Sarah wiped her eyes. Your wife sounds like she was extraordinary. She was, David signed, and she taught me that kindness doesn't require perfect words, just a willing heart. Over the following weeks, Sarah and David became friends. Emma took to Sarah immediately, delighted to learn some basic signs. David helped Sarah feel less isolated in the hearing world, introducing her to other families in town who had deaf members. The community, it turned out, was larger than Sarah had known. As for the grieving father, true to his word, he began attending a support group. He even apologized to Sarah one more time, in person, with an interpreter present. She forgave him, fully and without reservation. Pain makes us do strange things, she signed to him. But healing is possible. 6 months later, on a warm spring afternoon, Sarah stood as a bridesmaid at her best friend's wedding. David and Emma were there too. They'd become her family, in the way that sometimes happens when souls find each other at exactly the right moment. During the reception, David's hands moved through the familiar signs. I'm glad you asked for help that day. Sarah smiled, watching Emma whirl on the dance floor. I'm glad you knew how to answer. There are moments in life, she had learned, when everything hinges on a single act of courage, asking for help, offering it, choosing compassion over fear. That Tuesday morning in the cafe had been such a moment, and it had changed everything. Because in the end, we're all just trying to be understood, to be seen, to know that we're not alone in this beautiful, complicated world. And sometimes, all it takes is someone willing to stop, to look, to sign, I see you. You're safe now.